start with, every treaty is available on the internet in full, and they're remarkably short, simple documents. I mean, most of the text within a treaty, it's spent defining the terms and defining the boundaries of new Indigenous reserves. A large part of treaties go into detail on how Indigenous signatories are also ceding all further claims to lands and rights outside of what the treaty has determined. That section of the treaty is the most abused one in the modern times, actually. Now, aside from that, the treaties tend to call for things such as a small annual stipend for chiefs and headmen, along with the provision of some agricultural implements. In Treaty 6, for example, the Crown's obligated to provide ammunition and guarantee hunting rights for Indigenous citizens on their reserves. This is where some legislation is indeed threatening treaty rights, as Prime Minister Trudeau's Bill C-21 could lead to the seizure of firearms that Indigenous citizens use for hunting. Treaty 1 and Treaty 2, they call for the provision of schools for the children on reserves. So, yeah, while people don't like to talk about it, access to schools was enshrined as a right in some treaties and probably inspired some of the residential school systems. And treaty signatories signed on wanting that education for their kids. So give those treaties a read. They're interesting. Now, most of the things people reference as being treaty rights in Canada, they're actually rights and benefits conferred by the Indian Act. And there's many things wrong with that act, but it isn't entrenched within the treaties. And it's an act. It can be amended or even scrapped. Treaty rights have been violated before. It's usually a matter of land being taken or obligations for land not filled. Our courts have been settling many of those disputes already. When it comes to the legislation being entrenched within Alberta and Saskatchewan, where we're asserting provincial rights, there's no conflict with any treaties. Before indulging somebody's point when they claim a treaty right's being violated somehow, just ask them which right and which treaty. It's easy enough to check online right on the spot with your phone. They're all out there, and they're small. Chances are no right's probably actually being violated. With the ability to instantly fact-check claims of treaty rights, we should be calling out those claims as soon as we hear them. They've been hampering rational policy discussions for too long already, and we don't need to let that happen anymore. Right now, we've got the chiefs lined up. It seems Rachel Notley has managed to get them together and claim they weren't consulted now in the Sovereignty Act. Guys, we don't have an obligation to consult them, to bring in legislations. I mean, we still want to consult people as much as possible, as we do with the rest of the electorate. But there's no obligation. And the only way that would come in is if people say, well, now it's constitutional. No, it's not. If there was a problem with the treaty. But there is no problem with the treaty. So all I'm saying is, have a look, guys. Get out there and read those treaties. It'll add a lot more clarity to these discussions because right now people have a really poor idea of what they're about.
Here's an update on the current commodity prices around Lethbridge. Cash barley sideways at $4.40 per metric. Feed wheat is down $3 a ton to $4.45 per metric. And corn is down $5 a ton to $4.52 per metric ton. Moving to the milling wheat markets, March Minneapolis futures moved up 4.5 cents to $9.2150 per bushel, with local hard red spring bid for Jan-Feb movement at $11.65 per bushel delivered. Nearby canola futures are sideways to $8.6550 per metric ton, with delivered values for January movement at $19.40 per bushel. Continuing to the pulse markets, nearby red lentil prices remain the same at 33 cents per pound, and yellow peas are trading at $12.75 per bushel. Taking a quick look at the cattle markets, February live cattle are off 72.5 cents to $1.55 per hundredweight. For more information and pricing and picked up on farm options, give me a call at 403-394-1711. I'm Mike Van Dyke at Marketplace Commodities, accurate real-time marketing information and pricing options.
It takes work to run this place. For my mental wellness, I try to exercise more days than I don't. Now, my husband is joining us too, and we've all seen the difference. And if I need more support, I call 211.
Canadian Shooting Sports Association. Without the CSSA, our gun rights would have been taken long ago. These guys are on the front lines helping to draft smart and intelligent firearms regulations and legislation in Canada, and more importantly, educating the public about how we keep guns out of the hands of the wrong people. To become a member, it's absolutely worth every penny. You can become a Western Standard member for just $10 a month or $99 a year for unlimited access